What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Buckle up, because this is one of those moments that could reshape the future of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm not even exaggerating. We're talking about a bold, aggressive move in the NFL draft that has everyone talking, debating, and honestly, a little divided. Because out of nowhere, just when the board was already going crazy, Kansas City decided to shake the entire draft by trading up. Yeah, you heard that right. The Chiefs didn't sit back. They attacked. And when this team gets aggressive, you know something big is coming. So the question is simple. Did the Chiefs just secure their next defensive superstar? Or did they overpay in a risky gamble? Stay with me because this breakdown is going to hit hard. The Kansas City Chiefs made a statement move, jumping up to the number 6 overall pick in a trade with the Cleveland Browns. This wasn't a small adjustment. It was a clear signal that the front office saw something they absolutely couldn't risk losing. In exchange, the Chiefs gave up the number 9 pick along with additional selections in the 3rd and 5th rounds. That's real capital. That's not pocket change. That's a commitment to a vision. And with that pick, Kansas City selected cornerback Mansoor Delane, a name that might not have been on every casual fan's radar, but trust me, insiders have been watching this guy rise fast. Now let's talk about the player himself, because this is where things get exciting. Mansoor Delane isn't just another cornerback. He's being projected as a true shutdown defender. According to the numbers, he allowed just 14 completions on 35 targets in 2025. No touchdowns. Let me repeat that, 0 touchdowns. That's dominance at the highest level of college football. And when you combine that with his ability to play both man and zone coverage, you start to understand why the Chiefs didn't want to take the risk of waiting. But here's where the story gets even deeper. The Chiefs didn't just make this move for fun. They had a real need. Their secondary took some serious hits this offseason. Key departures left a gap that couldn't be ignored. And if there's one thing we know about this team, it's that they don't leave weaknesses exposed for long. So instead of hoping a player would fall to them, they went and got their guy. And honestly, that's classic Kansas City Chiefs football. Aggressive when it matters. Calculated when it counts. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Did they give up too much? Because trading multiple picks always comes with risk. But according to draft value metrics, Kansas City actually came out slightly ahead in terms of pure value. That's right, they didn't just make a bold move, they made a smart one. Still, everything depends on one thing, development. If Delane becomes what they believe he can be, this trade is a home run. If not, yeah, fans will remember those extra picks they gave up. Let's talk scheme fit, because this is where things get really interesting. The Chiefs have built a reputation as a cornerback factory. They've developed talent at every level of the draft, early picks, mid-rounders, late gems. It's part coaching, part system, part identity. And Delane fits right into that mold. Discipline, technique, patience. He checks all the boxes that this defense demands. Which means his ceiling in Kansas City could actually be higher than people expect. Now flip the perspective for a second, because the Cleveland Browns didn't just sit back and lose this deal. They played this smart. By moving down to number 9, they still got a top-tier offensive tackle in Spencer Fano. That's a huge win for a team desperate to rebuild its offensive line. And on top of that, they picked up extra draft capital. That gives them flexibility, something every rebuilding team needs. So yeah, from Cleveland's side, this move makes a lot of sense too. Let's focus on Fano for a moment because this guy is no joke. Analysts describe his game with one word: clean. He's technically sound, strong in the run game, and incredibly reliable in pass protection. That's exactly what the Browns needed. There are some questions about how his frame translates to the NFL, but worst-case scenario, he becomes a high-level interior lineman. That's still a massive upgrade for their offense. And here's where it gets strategic. Cleveland now has more picks to keep building. More shots at finding impact players. They can target wide receivers, maybe even a quarterback later in the draft. This wasn't just a trade, it was a setup for a bigger plan. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are thinking differently. They're not rebuilding, they're reloading. They don't need 10 new players. They need the right player. And they believe Mansoor Delane is that guy. That's the difference between contenders and teams trying to become contenders. But let me ask you something, Chiefs Kingdom. Do you trust this move? Do you believe in the front office's vision? Or are you worried they might have jumped too soon? Because this is the kind of decision that defines seasons, and sometimes even eras. One thing's for sure, this wasn't a safe move. It wasn't conservative. It was bold, aggressive, and full of confidence. And honestly, that's what makes this team so dangerous. They don't wait. They don't hesitate. When they see an opportunity, they attack it. And now all eyes are on Mansour Delaney. If he delivers, this defense could take a massive leap. We're talking about a potential lockdown presence on the outside. Someone who changes how opposing offenses play. Someone who forces quarterbacks to think twice. That's the kind of impact the Chiefs are betting on. But the pressure is real. First-round pick. Trade-up expectations. Immediate role. There's no easing into this. He's expected to contribute right away. And Chiefs fans? They're not patient when it comes to first-round talent. So yeah, the spotlight is already on him. At the end of the day, this trade feels like a calculated risk with a high ceiling. Kansas City addressed a major need, stayed aggressive, and trusted their evaluation process. Cleveland added talent and flexibility, positioning themselves for a broader rebuild. Both teams walked away with something valuable. Now it's your turn, Chiefs Kingdom. What do you think about this move? Did the Kansas City Chiefs make the right call trading up for Mansour Delaney? Or should they have stayed put and kept those extra picks? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear every opinion, every take, every hot reaction. And if you're all about Kansas City Chiefs news, updates, and deep dives like this, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with every Chiefs fan you know. Because this season, it's already heating up, and we're just getting started. And let's take this even further, because the ripple effects of this move could stretch way beyond just one season. When the Kansas City Chiefs invest this kind of capital into a defensive player, it's not just about plugging a hole. It's about building the next core of the team. Think about it. The Chiefs have been evolving defensively over the past few years, shifting toward a faster, more versatile unit that can match up with today's explosive offenses. This isn't random. It's intentional. And adding a player like Mansour Delaney fits perfectly into that long-term vision. If he develops the way they expect, we're not just talking about a starter, we're talking about a cornerstone piece. The kind of player you build a secondary around for the next 5 to 7 years. But here's where things get really interesting. How does this impact the rest of the draft? Because the Chiefs still have more picks, and you know this front office isn't done yet. After making such an aggressive move early, it changes how they approach the rest of the board. Now they can be more flexible, more selective, maybe even take some calculated risks later on. Do they go after another defensive piece? Add depth at wide receiver? Reinforce the offensive line? Every option is still on the table. And that's the beauty of having a strong roster. You're not drafting out of desperation, you're drafting with purpose. Now let's talk about expectations, because whether we like it or not, they just went up. Big time. When you trade up into the top 10, you're not drafting a project. You're drafting impact. Immediate impact. Fans are going to expect Mansour Delaney to step in and contribute from day one. Not just flashes, not just potential, but real, visible production on the field. And in Kansas City, under the bright lights, those expectations hit harder than anywhere else. But if there's one thing working in his favor, it's the system. The Chiefs know how to develop defensive backs. They've proven it time and time again. So even if there are growing pains early on, the structure around him is designed to help him succeed. And that's something fans should keep in mind before jumping to conclusions too quickly. Let's not ignore the psychological side of this either. Moves like this send a message, not just to fans but to the locker room. It tells the team that management believes they are still in championship mode. That they're willing to be aggressive to stay at the top. That matters. That builds confidence. That fuels belief. And when you combine that mindset with the leadership already in that locker room, it creates something powerful. Now flip it one more time, because the Browns are quietly setting themselves up in a very different way. They're building depth. They're building flexibility. They're giving themselves multiple chances to hit on key players. That's how rebuilds are supposed to look. So while the Chiefs are aiming for immediate impact, the Browns are playing the long game. Two completely different strategies, both with valid logic behind them. And that's what makes this trade so fascinating. Now here's something I want you to really think about. What if Delane becomes exactly what they believe he can be? What if he turns into a true shutdown corner? The kind of player who erases one side of the field? Because if that happens, this defense changes overnight. Suddenly, the pass rush looks better. The coverage tightens. The entire unit levels up. That's the domino effect of elite defensive talent. But, and it's a big but, if he struggles, if the transition to the NFL takes longer than expected, the conversation changes quickly. Those extra picks? They'll start to matter a lot more. That's the risk. That's the gamble. That's the reality of draft night decisions. And that's why we watch. That's why we debate. That's why we care so much. Because moments like this shape the future of the Kansas City Chiefs. So now I'm throwing it back to you one more time, Chiefs Kingdom. How are you feeling about this move now that we've broken it all down? Are you fired up about the potential? Or are you still a little cautious about the price they paid? I want to see those takes flooding the comments. Let's get the conversation going. And don't forget, if you want to stay locked in on all the latest Kansas City Chiefs news, analysis, and updates, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your crew. Because if this move hits the way the Chiefs expect, we might be witnessing the start of something special.